You guys can all have a seat. It's not Mass. We stand at the beginning of Mass, but I don't know. When Adoration, when Father actually exposes the Blessed Sacrament, then we'll ask you to kneel, but I wanted to introduce you to that before we get going. If you don't know me, I'm Peter. I'm the youth minister at our school. I haven't spoken to your classes yet, although I played Ultimate with a lot of you, and many of you come to youth groups, so I know a lot of you already. What Adoration is this. This tabernacle is the most sacred spot in our church and actually in our town. What we think as Catholics is that Christ is present there in a way where he's not anywhere else. God is everywhere, as you guys know. But in the Old Testament, they had this idea that God was especially present on something called the Ark of the Covenant. If you ever saw, there's an Indiana Jones where they find the Ark of the Covenant, and it's like this gold box with these angels that are pointing at each other, and then it's Nazis who open it up. And so in the Old Testament, they thought that the power of God was there. So when the Nazis open it up, they all like die, and one guy's face melts and another guy implodes. And what's going on there is they are encountering the presence of God. Because in the Old Testament, that Ark of the Covenant, they said, hey, this is where God is more than anywhere else on earth. So when they built their temple, what they're going to do is their temple was the big building where they did their worship, right? And they would have an altar where they would offer sacrifices. And then behind the altar, they would have a room, an entire room that's covered in gold. And it was called the Holy of Holies. And separating that room from the rest of the temple was this great big curtain. And so the priests would come and they'd offer their sacrifices. But in that Holy of Holies where the Ark of the Covenant was, nobody ever went in there because they thought the presence of God was so powerful that if you went in there and you had any sin at all, you would like die on the spot, right? Which is where the Indiana Jones movie comes from. They thought that it's going to be this brutal thing. There's even a story that's told, and it's hard to confirm if this is true or not, but there's a story that's told that if a priest had to go in there to light candles or whatever priests did, okay, if they had to do that, they would wear a robe with bells on it and a rope tied to their ankle so that if they went in there and they were moving around and they were suddenly struck dead for being in the presence of God, you could drag their body out without having to go in yourself to get them in case you also died when you went in. And this was the idea. When Jesus died on the cross, it says that that curtain in the temple was torn from top to bottom, which meant now we could come into the presence of God. And so when you come into Catholic Church, we always show the tabernacle so much respect and we genuflect towards it and we do all these kinds of things. We see it as sacred. What's going to happen during adoration is Father's actually going to open the tabernacle and he's going to take the host out and put it on the altar, and it's going to be in a thing called a monstrance, which is, it like demonstrates the Eucharist, and it's actually, this entire room is going to become the tabernacle. So it's kind of like we've just gone past the veil and now we're in the Holy of Holies. Now, usually, like when I've done this on retreats and stuff like that, for some reason, God works in people, and sometimes people will even have like an emotional experience. Honestly, I don't expect that to happen to you guys in the middle of a school day, right? Everyone's probably a little bit guarded at school. But when people are in the right mindset, they come in and like something powerful happens to them. What you can expect to happen is you're going to sit here in total silence, but I want you to be open to letting God speak to you, because this will probably be, whether you feel it or not, this is going to be a really profound and sacred experience for you guys who are in the room. The people who are watching on camera, you know what, it's not the same thing as for the people who actually get to be here, but hopefully it's a neat experience for you guys as well. But what we're going to do, we're just going to sit in silence, and who knows what God is going to speak to your hearts. The challenge is to be open and listening and praying during this time when we're in this presence. Because it's so sacred, it's appropriate to kneel at the beginning, and then it's appropriate again to kneel at the end, and Father will do a special blessing called a benediction. All right, you guys please kneel. Okay, thank you guys very much. Your behavior was excellent from where I was. I didn't hear any whispering or anything, and I appreciate that. Like I said, I don't really expect that you felt anything emotional. It's hard to, the reason I do retreats and stuff like that is to bring people in a different space where you open up more and stuff. But hopefully even sitting in silence for 10 minutes was good for you guys. I just wanted to point out one last thing. Did you notice when Father touched the monstrance, he had that special veil on? And he didn't even touch it. He used that thing. It's called the humeral veil. The reason I tell you that, though, is it's just, that's how sacred we think this whole thing is. There's all this like ritual around it. And so it's kind of cool that you're able to experience this in the middle of an ordinary school day. That is all.